Hello everybody, my name is Cindy and today I'm going to talk about the sociocultural theory in second language learning. The roots of the sociocultural theory come from Germany and they date back to the 18th and 19th century, and the philosophers that made the first observations are Hegel and Spinoza. However, the recognition of this theory began with the Russian philosopher Lev Vygotsky. Now, I'm wondering, what is the essence of the SET? From Vygotsky's perspective, social interactions are the essence, so they can vary among countries due to diverse factors like languages, for example. Now, it's time to talk about the developmental pattern. First, there's language and behavior, and they can be affected by individual, social, and contextual issues. Then, there's human nature, and it is both social and reflexive. Lastly, their thoughts and behaviors are sensitive to complexities of the social world. So, because of all these factors, the developmental pattern of someone from Mexico will not be the same for someone in Korea. This theory has three main principles. The first one is that learning has a social character rather than a biological one. The second says that human learning is a mediated process. And the third one states that it's better to examine the human learning process in a holistically way. That means that language is considered as a whole. The SCT emphasizes that family, friends, school, or even social activities can be really helpful during the student's learning process. Also, for SCT, meaning should constitute the central aspect of any unit of study because they are negotiated within the intersection of individuals, culture, and human activity. The core of this theory is that learning takes place through social interaction that makes it both cognitive and social process. Some important key concepts are that learning through interaction is an unique human feature. In this theory, gestures are also considered a learning tool. Also, the mediation process helps students to regulate their own learning. At least, that's the expectation. As we know, learning is a socially mediated process and it's mostly influenced by the language itself. In the mediated process, tools are important factors that function as a buffer between the learner and the environment. A quote that caught my attention says that the mediation process facilitates the development of learning. So, in other words, thanks to the mediation process, it's easier to develop learning. During this presentation, I have been talking about the tools that help in the learning process. Some examples of this can be language itself, writing, PowerPoint presentation, and Google Docs, especially these days that we are facing a pandemic, because they help us to learn from a remote distance. Also, in this theory, Vygotsky talks about the zone of proximal development, and that is the distance that the learning can reach with assistance. Said assistance is called scaffolding. As we can see in the picture, in the first circle, that is what students can learn and do on their own. Then there is the CPT zone, and then in the other circle stands what students cannot do yet. So, as the quote says, interaction contributes to their CPT because it acts as a support. Inner speech is also important in this theory because language is seen as a medium of thinking and thinking about thinking. Private speech is what we talk to ourselves, but growing up it's pretty common that private speech becomes inner speech because as adults we cannot talk sometimes. And when learning a second language, using inner speech has positive effects and it could be engaged in this learning process. Just to conclude, dynamic assessment is continually providing the learners scaffolding by other and self-regulation in activities so they can reach their CPD easily. Now, this is my reference and thank you.